Good morning, church. The general epistle of James is a very short letter. It has only 5 chapters, but it is very practical and straightforward, and that's what I like about this letter. Uh, Very clear instructions, practical instructions, and yet very powerful. And these instructions are timeless. One small portion is found in James chapter 1 verses 21 to 27, where James has given us some very good teachings on what religion is. Good definition of what true religion is found in James chapter 1 verse 27. It says, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained before the world. Which means religion in this context is outward expression or an action based on the inner piety. So James explains this very beautifully. He's saying that pure religion is twofold. The first aspect is that we care for people selflessly enough that we it leads us to action, it leads us to help them when they are in need. And this is a direct result of the inner purity we are building by separating ourselves from the world system and following God. So we cannot truly serve God if we don't keep ourselves separate from this world, because it will only be a matter of time that we will get mixed with the world and will start liking the ways of the world system, and then we lose that inner piety. So true religion is not just helping others, doing a lot of social work, doing helping poor and needy, and then there is no inner growth, inner spiritual growth. There is no holiness. And on the other hand, if we just are focusing on inner growth and we are not helping others, then that inner growth is also questionable. Further, in verses 22 to 25, we read that be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away, and at once forget what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. So James is comparing the word of God to a mirror. What it means is that when a man looks at the mirror, walks away, and forget how he looked like, then it is quite absurd, isn't it? This in fact, is a weird example James is using, and that is exactly James' point, that the main purpose of owning the mirror is to have the ability to see ourselves carefully and then make necessary adjustments so that we are as clean and neat as we are supposed to be. So we would like to adjust our shirt, maybe the our unkempt hair, or adjust the tie, adjust the attire, and then we want to look the way we are supposed to look. That's the purpose of the mirror. And if you're not using the mirror for this purpose, then it's a waste. Similarly, when we hear the word of God, the only purpose we hear the word of God is so that we become what we are supposed to be after doing what we hear. And if we fail to do that, then the entire time that we spent listening to the word is a waste. So think about it. Our spiritual journey is like moving from point A to point B. So when we are from point A to point B, when we are moving to point B, we are kind of growing spiritually. So when we hear the word and we do it, we are moving from point A to point B. And if we don't do what we hear, then we are not moving, and we are simply wasting the opportunity. Which means to to use God's mirror profitably, we must gaze at it carefully, we must look at it intently enough, we must examine our hearts. And this will take our time, our attention, our sincere devotion, and we'll have to make necessary adjustments. We'll have to remove noise, we'll have to set priorities, and we'll have to recognize and acknowledge and realize that we are made in the image of God. And when we are looking at the word of God, the mirror that is showing, it's going to show us where we stand and what we need to change. And we have to be honest with ourselves, because if you are hearers of the word only and not doers of the word, then it's very clear we are deceiving ourselves. And what James is saying is that self deception is quite dangerous, and it's very clear if we are not obeying the word, we are deceiving ourselves. And this looks quite obvious, but there are many people who think that just by hearing the word of God we can grow spiritually. There are many people who think that maybe not only on Sunday, I will also hear the word of God on Wednesdays, and then maybe a lot more on YouTube's, and maybe some audio messages I'll be listening while I'm traveling. And if only Bible reading is not enough, I will also study the Bible and then I'll grow spiritually. But James calls it very clearly that this is self deception. Unless you are the doers of the word, you are deceiving yourself. There is no two ways about it. And in fact, self deception is more damaging than Satan deceiving us with his tricks and his ways. And that's why we should obey the word of God. In verse 25, James calls the word of God the perfect law of liberty, which means when we obey the word of God, it sets us free. And that is an amazing thing. God bless this word. Have a good day.